They call this decorative piece of plastic an automatic shifter cover or a shifter trim blind cover, and it keeps stuff from dropping down inside the cavity beneath your shifter lever. You'll find them in lots of cars, Toyota, Chevy, Honda. This one's from a Ford Mustang. And they eventually break. But this one ain't broke no more. I'm going to show you how I fixed it real easy. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you to stick around to the end of this video where I'm going to share a real important tip that can help people with broken shifter trim covers, even if you don't choose to follow this repair process. So they sell these cheap plastic shifter covers online, like Amazon, eBay, and we'll put a link in the description below. But you see, they don't have this additional plastic strip with the bright orange marking to let you know which gear you're in. So the cheap plastic replacement cover is just ingredient number one in my recipe. The broken pieces of the original shifter blind cover are my next ingredient. And some standard issue super glue will serve as ingredient number 3. I also use a pair of scissors, a razor knife, and this here ruler, and masking tape, and a couple of these here paper holder clips are optional. Found them on Helen's bedside table. Of course, I'd tell you where to buy all this stuff, but I ain't got no regular sponsor yet. Poor me. And now this little plastic strip was broken, and well, so that made things slightly more difficult, but not insurmountable. I knew the first thing a feller should do is put it back together to its original length. Now, for this Mustang shifter cover, I chose to trim some plastic off the top and shave the bottom and a little sliver off the sides of this thing to see it make it fit real good down between the rigid edges of the original plastic, you see. Here's what I took off. You see, it's thinner than Helen's hairline. The way this hole is cut, makes it obvious how to align it. And so that's what I did. And I first glued the replacement cover over the top of this here section down here. And next I pieced back together the thin little transparent slip that goes along the side here. And by doing so, that helped me understand what the overall length of this unit was supposed to be. Now, I want you to understand how this patch situation came down, because I'm sure you're fixated on this orange stripe. Now, that color just happens to be the paper backing from a piece of plastic I used to stitch this broken piece together. And in my case, it's never going to be seen nor confused with a bright colored indicator that tells you what gear you're in. Stick with me and you'll understand in a minute. I did use some masking tape to hold things in place, and then I tore apart the package of super glue and used my scissors, or I guess you could use a razor knife, to cut this thin plastic lip off from the side of the super glue packet. Perfect plastic for this. You know, I like cutting things with scissors. How about you? Then I flipped it over so the plastic would be touching plastic, because see, there's a little paper on the other side here. You see, which I guess could be easily scrubbed off with a little soap and water, but anyway, I just made sure plastic was touching up against plastic, and I super glued her in place like a Band-Aid, to form a bridge between the two broken plastic pieces. You see how I did it here? Yeah, I'm going to flip this over so you can watch me do the other side now, because it's quite dazzling, my dexterity. Yeah, I put some protection down here because I don't want it to get stuck to the surface I'm working on. And I cleaned up this plastic a little bit, like I said, washed off some of the paper, and it's still got an orange tinge to it, but this is going to work great. Next, I put some glue on here, and let me come at this with the other hand here, because DeMille says I need to learn how to be more polite to the camera. Yeah, there, like this. Now, I reckon now the argument can be made I'm using too much glue. Yeah, that's good. But it don't need to be pretty. We're just creating something functional here. Now, we're going to lay this little plastic strip on top, and you just got to be patient, move slow. Yeah, there. It's fun to fix things. What do you think? Drop me a comment beneath the video. Yeah, you see that ocean of glue is causing her to slip and slide like a greased pig. You get the idea. This is nothing but a pure reenactment. Just for you. Alright? So I apply a little pressure till she stops fighting me, and then I come at her with one of these little clips, which I sprayed with a little cooking oil. Wait a minute, let me move that down here. There. Yeah, so it grabs both sides. Then I let it sit while I take a break. Once I verified that was good and strong, I moved to the final phase, which was attaching the remaining pieces of my original shifter cover to the cheap replacement I bought online, linked below. And you see here how I had a piece missing? So the online replacement is a critical part of the process because it helps you figure out what the overall length should be. Plus, that unique cutout hole serves as a template for lining things up. Now, you want to be aware there's typically a bend in these things when the shifter cover assembly comes down over the top. You see how it scoops down at an angle? So before doing that final patch with the super glue, I held it in place with some masking tape and test fitted it back in the vehicle to make sure the factory orange highlight was properly indicating what gear the car was in. I know I promised you a secret tip for dealing with this situation in many cars, but first I want to let you know that removing this apparatus here is pretty simple. And for this Mustang, one of my YouTube heroes, Martin's Used Cars, has a step-by-step procedure to show you how. So check it out. We'll post the link because I believe in plugging my hard-working social media brothers and sisters. And check this out. Remember why I told you that orange plastic patch I did wasn't a concern for my situation? It's because my little thin piece of plastic was mended way down here. So whether the shifter handle is all the way down or all the way up like this, my orange patch never enters this area where the gear indications are. So keep that in mind. Finally, the control center of Margie's Mustang looks like new again. And the shifter trim blind cover works like a champ, which leads us to that tip I promised you that a lot of people forget. See, if a person's worried they don't know what gear they're in because the orange indicator is broken, well, just like this S197 5th generation Mustang, most modern cars have a button here. It pops out, indicating that you're locked into a drive position. You see here, I gotta push it to make it move again, the same way it locks when you're in park, so it can't accidentally get bumped in or out of gear. Knowing the positions where that button pops out can help a lot, so look for a similar feature on your car. And I hope this educates you about a few things. Check out my other videos, and be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications. This is Murphy himself.